Oh, you are live.
They always start with us just cracking up, going, "Oh my
Yeah, and here
god!"
we are getting punched in the face trying to get this set up. The irony. The irony of it all.
Oh,
Welcome
the
to
perfect
Leadership
irony.
Meetings Live with Circle Leadership Global. I'm coming to you live from Melbourne. Yes, I've been let out of WA on good behavior. And Lisa's, of course, still over on the Gold Coast, which is awesome, on dry land, which is great, in her new studio. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty exciting. You're in a new place now.
Yes, still very new, as you can see. It's very white and boring and unhumicorn-like, but gonna do the little pretty decos this week and get my lights and my soundproofing. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm trying to talk about lighting. I'm actually
That's good.
here in the lobby of the conference center at the Best Western in near the airport because we're here with clients. Excitingly, the very first time to be able to meet clients face to face that we've been serving for 12 to 18 months. And they're having a conference right now, but we just stepped out to do this live stream. Lisa's been on the Teams and everything like that. Well, I've been here in person, which is very exciting. I've been like a little kid in a candy shop. It's been like I've been a little bit giddy. It's just been
You
to
really
actually,
have.
yeah, just to meet people. But
I
anyway,
don't
so
think you've slept in 7 days or something. You've been a bit
no, I
excitable,
can't keep
hey?
the glasses on, so you can't see the bags under the bags under the bags. I could go grocery shopping, and they said, "You need a bag, sir." No, I got about 4 of them. I'm good, thanks. The
Oh, that's so good.
yeah, so it's been a challenging week, to say the least, and not only for us, but also for some of our clients too, which was kind of wanted to raise one point first and foremost is that we're not immune from anything that our clients deal with just because we do this for a living, right? Just because this is the work that we do in the world doesn't mean that we don't have our challenges too when it comes to running our business and circle leadership. And it's been a series of punches that we've been taking that, learning how to roll with the punches. So we just thought it'd be great to do a live stream because this is real, it's authentic. Like we have some challenges too when we're evolving to stay relevant in the hearts and minds of people that we choose to serve. And the universe, the world, business, life throws stuff at us as well, just as much as it does all our clients. And as practitioners ourselves, so we just thought we'd share like how we've been dealing with it and some things that we've gone through. Then hopefully to let you know that we are humans. As well as Lisa is a human unicorn. She's still human. There's a human component to her.
It's a big component, the humicorn part. Yes.
Yeah. But that we deal with things. But then, how do we deal with things, and what how we've been working with our clients to help them deal with some of the stuff that they've been dealing with, right? So I don't know, I'm getting a bit of feedback there, but so anyway, so I guess for us, some of the challenges, and please feel free to share from your perspective too, Lisa. But like I know some of the things for us is, we're just getting some rhythm and cadence going with our marketing and stuff like that, and had the marketing plan in place, and then we were helping some clients out with it with the person that we were using for our marketing. And then they got presented with just as we got things up and running and a bit more of a systematic approach to content and everything like that, that all of a sudden that person goes, "Oh, I'm leaving now," because they've got for them it's great. They've got a job opportunity with a large organization, and that was their choice, and that's fine. But then all of a sudden we just go, "That's set up," and then we had that happen, and then obviously you've just recovered from all the swimming you've been doing for the past couple of weeks and moving into a new place. And we won't talk about what happened here unless you wish to talk about what happened when you moved into your new place.
Oh, no, not ready. Too soon, too soon.
Too soon. So there were certainly those challenges there, and so then a couple of our clients, then we had a person, one of our very close friends had a situation, and so we, I chose to help them, because we care people as human beings first. And certainly, so there's just been a few things happening in our business. We're just recovering from having you absent for about a week and a bit, and then all of a sudden it happened at the week that I chose to travel to Melbourne. And then we've had obviously the exciting part, a whole bunch of new clients onboarding, but they've all wanted everything now. So meeting excessive client demands. So this is what happens in business, right? You have all the excessive client demands, and then when you lose, 25% of your team after just recouping 25% of your team that was missing before in action. So like it happens. But then what did we do? How did we handle it? What have we done? And I'm dealing with some clients over here in Melbourne, like labor, like finding like labor force, like finding people who the best talent for your organization has been a challenge for some people. And West Australia, it's been no different. But here in Melbourne, speaking to clients, it's been a challenge to find people who want to work and that have the talent and abilities that you want, or some people are asking for, rightly or wrongly, but what they're asking for in return for that is out of the market. So it's been a really interesting thing. So anything
kind
you
of
want
like
to add
rentals on the Gold Coast.
anything you want to add to that before we talk about some of the things that we've been doing?
No, that's
Okay.
good. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. So just and in our newsletter, the part that I wrote in our newsletter, which went out yesterday, was talking the same advice I've given clients is what we sort of hear is that, and Lisa was phenomenal support in this, is a lot of what seemingly was going on. The marketing was reliant on me. The onboarding of new clients was reliant on me. Like the leadership coaching, once clients are into the system, Lisa then takes over a lot of that part of the process. And coaching and supporting our clients, but all the upfront stuff. So we had all these clients all of a sudden on board at the same time. And then there was a lot of that on me. And then with the trip here, and then now the marketing kind of fell back on me as well, because we've been freeing up my capacity, and so I can increase my capabilities, and then bring in resources to support that. And then when we lost one of those resources unexpectedly, it put a bunch of pressure on. But what we did and what Lisa did so well is she called me up straight away and said, okay, let's just go through everything. What's going on? Everything. So we mapped out everything that was happening and what was going on, and then said, okay, let's reprioritize. Let's work on what we can do. How can I help you with that? Because I'll have some capacity right now to take on this. So what can I take from you? How can I help you with that? And then one of the other things that we did, which was really cool, which we've advised to our clients, is we've increased our frequency of communication. While it would be easy for us to go, we had a meeting structure, rhythm, and cadence for our business. We have Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I think you and I, whether via chat or whatever, we've been talking more in the past week or so than we actually have when we have our structure. And it's certainly one of the things to talk to clients about is when all this pressure's on and you have all this work in your mind that you need to do, going, well, now I don't have time for meetings. Well, you might not have time for the meeting structure that you had, but you should still have time for communication. You just might need to change the way that you communicate, and what you communicate and how often you communicate. So we've been having, let's call it micro communications more often rather than the macro communications we had structured before. And like at my end, like the support that you've been able to provide has been outstanding for that. And then even just to question and challenge me, and I know I felt a little confronted at first and was like, because I just got to get through it. I just got to get through it. And this is what typically business owners are going to do. Like, but then does that happen at the expense of health and well-being and, or lack of sleep?
Yes, lack of sleep.
Yeah, well, this lack of sleep, I will assure you, is just because time change has been very difficult for me to get to bed with the 3-hour time change is the worst time change, I think.
Yeah.
Like I can do a 12-hour, 8-hour, whatever, but this 3 hours where I'm sitting there, it's 7 o'clock in my body and it's 10 o'clock here, and I'm like, I'm not ready to go to bed. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
And knowing that I need to get up at 1 a.m. my body clock time, and which is 4 a.m. here for calls to New Zealand. It's been interesting. So it's just been dealing with that. But so reprioritizing was really important for me. Going through, looking at the list, reallocation of work temporarily, just for what it is, until we can backfill with other resources. Now we found someone who's going to help us with our marketing again, which is awesome. So we'll be able to take that back off of the load. And to me, like there was some simple things: increased communication. When we think of decrease it, is not to have it as big and chunky, but smaller communication more often, just to keep in check. Also just from a stress levels and health and well-being, you've been phenomenal in that sense to me. It's like, how you doing? How you feeling? So that makes sure I'm not overwhelmed and, being tired is one thing, but that's, like I said, more time difference than anything.
And if I can speak to a couple of those points, Dave, like that's It's so interesting because I know we talk a lot about being the product of our product, which is why, on weeks like this, where it feels like it's more of a weak than a strong, and you do feel like you're being punched in the face, it's like, okay, so how do we now take that back to what we do? And how can we take that back to the process of human behavior? And it's about, because we have these micro communications, it's helping us lead, live, and love our values. So we're not stodgy in our mission. So our structure is around, our macro meetings. It's like, okay, well, we actually can't meet that delivery model this week, but how can we continue to live, love, and lead our values and our purpose at Circle Leadership through a different way of communication? And I think that's what's been really key this week, doing what we can versus not getting caught up on the fact of, well, we can't meet this structure that has been serving us for the last 4 months. And it's similar with, this is a micro level just this week, but if you look at COVID, where businesses weren't able to deliver like their usual model that they had for years and years and years. It was so interesting. Yesterday on my Facebook memories, yesterday, a year ago, because you know how Facebook does like this time a year ago memories, I was doing a live on the fact that I'd been able to go for a swim and I was doing a walk because I just sustained a really, really bad back injury. And as an athlete, someone that trains sometimes 3-4 times a day, I had been in this space where I was so hung up on what I wasn't able to do, but then was able to flick myself out of that and go, okay, I can't do these things, but how do I get to focus on what I can do? How can I shimmy my mission? How can I shimmy and evolve the way that I show up and deliver my purpose, which in that point was to be fit, healthy, and strong for a lifetime, in a way that serves me today, right where I am, with what we've got, rather than going, crap, I can't do this thing that I had planned that I have been doing. And it's just this beautiful, like, nothing is ever separate in and of itself. And that's what I absolutely love about what we get to do for our clients and how we get to show up as well, because as we learn, we can also stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people that we're serving, because we're doing the same damn thing. It's so cool.
So the simple key takeaways: reprioritize. What can we do? And that's what we can still do the live, right? Some of our other marketing stuff that we would have in our regular days of the week that would take some effort. Like, well, you know what? Let's postpone that for the week. That's fine. 1 week's not going to kill us, but let's make sure that we still do the live, right? So what can we do? So that was the first thing we looked at. Reprioritize everything was first. We'll make a list of everything that we had, and then go, okay, let's prioritize that, and then go, what can we do? I was working with one of the other clients here in Melbourne who was going through a similar thing. They're probably, some of their teams are down 50%. Right, so they got a team of 10 normally, and they've only got 5 people, and overall organization, they're probably totally down 20% of their normal people in their business. And so I said, this is what happens. We look at it, and if you imagine I had a whiteboard and I wrote all the things that we've got to do on it, and we look at it like, oh my God, the overwhelm that you would feel from looking at all this stuff, going, oh, we've only got this and we've got all that to do. And I said, well, what are the things that need to be done today, that have to be done today, must be done today? And we circled a few of them. And I go, let's take everything else. Let's take those things off that whiteboard, put them over here on the table, and go, let's just do those things. But when we look at, all of a sudden, sometimes we look at all the stuff that has to be done, all the stuff piled up, it can be overwhelming. And that can cause anxiety, stress, everything like that. But if we just look at what it is that we're going to work on today, let's just focus on that. And if we help everyone in our teams do the same thing, what are you going to focus on today? What am I going to focus on today? Great. Let's check in, see how each other's doing a little bit later, micro communication, and just get on with doing what we can to get through the stuff we do. And then before you know it, by the end of the week, there's a whole bunch of stuff done. But if we just stood there and stared at this whole big bunch of stuff that had to be done, we'd be like, oh. And I said, people spend more time worrying about what needs to be done, and instead of doing what they're worrying about.
This guy, 100%. Brain explosion emoji. Sometimes I walk around like that brain explosion emoji on my head. And there's no words, there's no structure. But further to what you just said, it's around the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One chunk at a time. I challenge that, because I'm like, well, why would you want to eat an elephant? Why not eat a cake? But how can you eat a cake? One spoonful, forkful. Oh, look, if you're me or my 1-year-old niece, handful at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's right. But that's it. So like I said, how to eat a steak. Like sorry to all the vegans and vegetarians out there, but for me, I'm
Yeah,
a meat
cheers, mate.
vegetarian. Hi, my name's Dave. I'm a meat vegetarian. But yeah, like if I get this, my wife always complains because we have these like 600-gram steaks. Like, you got to cut that in half. I said I couldn't eat it in two pieces, love. I have to cut it in smaller ones. I'm sure she had a different intention around cutting it in half, saying you should eat a whole 600-gram steak, but breaking it down into digestible pieces. So this is what we do. But then it's looking at what needs to be done first, and focus. So reprioritize, do all that stuff. Focus on what you can do, break it into things, and just focus on in the moment stuff. Communicate more frequently. And this is what, like, as I wrote in my article, it's like when you're taking all the punches and you're backed into a corner, the best thing you can do is cover, and then find a way to then counter and then work your way out of the corner. Right? You don't just try and get yourself straight out of the corner. You're going to have to cover and just work your way out of the corner. When you need to work your way out of it. And so that's sort of like what we've been able to do. And because you were able to work with me to do that, it has been awesome. So my mind has been bogged down thinking about all the stuff that we have to do. I haven't even thought about all the other stuff that's there. All I've been focused on is the things we need to do today.
Yeah.
And I've been able to do that today and today.
Good. And how often do we hear where people are like, I just need space to think. I just need space to think. I can't. And so if I can give anybody the simplest tool, and we're about to do it together, of what you can do to create more space to think and feel and be in your being. Because if you're jammed up, you can't move. Like, there's nowhere for you to pivot to kind of get out of that corner. If you're jammed or tripping over your chair behind you in that corner, there's no space for you to move. You actually can't shimmy to try and get out of there. So the first thing that we get to do in that time, in that space, is actually create just this much space so that we can actually get a little bit of leverage. And this is the best way that we get to do it. Everyone take a big breath in.
Okay, we do it.
And out. And one more in. And out. Close your eyes if you feel safe, and big breath in. Hold. And out. Because what we've done with the breath, which happens by virtue of us being alive, how great is it that we don't have to concentrate or think about, keep deep breathing while I'm chatting. How cool is it that we don't have to think about consciously breathing our lungs or beating our heart in order for us to stay alive? Because I know if I was in control of having to do that manually, that I wouldn't be here at all. But if we apply some consciousness to that, and when we feel like we're jammed into a space and we've got nowhere to move and there's so much happening, and it's like, well, I'd love to eat that steak or that cake or that elephant, but I actually don't have any space to pick up the fork to even start. I'm so jammed up. If you take a big breath in, we're actually creating space in our being. By having a big breath in, we're actually creating space in our lungs, in our body. And then from here, I'm like, I actually feel 0.00001% better than what I did before. But evolution is the steady, progressive improvement of our capability that's increasing our capacity for success. And how can we increase our capacity to do the thing right where we are? Start with the breath, because everything, all life, starts and ends with the breath.
So powerful. Thank you. Actually, just breathing, I feel a little bit more relaxed already than I was, which is So certainly, and it's funny because I wrote that in my article. I said, the thing is breathe. Stop, breathe,
and smile. Breathe and smile, and then let love in. And you're like, oh, yes, because there is so much abundance. There is so much love. There is so much capacity available to us. But if we breathe, smile, and let it in, from that space, we can go, oh, now I have more capacity to do the things that I know that I get to and want to do. But now I actually have capacity, because capacity and capability are two different things. You could be so capable, which we are, but if we don't have any capacity because we're jammed up, let's create some space so we have capacity in order to be able to be the capable, awesome, epic humans that we are.
And here's the part where it sounds counterintuitive. It's like when you feel like there's so much pressure and I don't have time, the one thing that you should take or make is time. like I said,
We
just
talked
stop.
about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, just make time, and which I did, and then I made time for myself because once again, you can't pour from an empty jug as well. So when you're under that sort of pressure, and I went and just made time for me. I went to the driving range and just hit some golf balls, which is just for me like that's therapeutic for me. Some people they think it's a bit crazy, but to me it's therapeutic. So, um, but it was out in the fresh air, and I stopped thinking about everything else and just that. And then my mind, when it was calm, I could go back and go, okay, now let's take a look at what's going on. And then,
And Dave, you know that I'm your biggest fan, and I just love that I get to do life with you every day, and help serve the world and help people be the best version of themselves so they can do their best work while they're in our care and beyond.
yeah.
But of all of the incredible work that you've done in the world last week and in the last months in which we've been colliding in this space, when you sent me that message from you being at the driving range, when everything on the outside of you was absolutely squeezing and pressuring you, I was in that moment last week. That was when I was the most proud of you. I'm like, yes, you're doing the thing for you. Because how can we give our clients, like you said, we've both done 3:30, 4 a.m. starts over the last couple of weeks to meet our people where they're at. We are here. You're not going to find two more people that are going to show up for their clients any more than us. And if you do, I'd love to meet them. But when we can take that time for ourselves so that we can continue to show up and be all of who we are, because our people deserve us at our best, that is when I was most proud of you, when you went and took that time for yourself at the driving range. And I just was even now, I'm just like, yes, I'm so glad you did that. So, yeah, anyway, that's all. I get excited.
Well yeah. Even in this trip, like I did message the client, like, because I was about here, like, okay, got to maximize the time with the clients, and one of our clients, John, he's a member at Royal Melbourne Golf Club, and he's like,
wow.
I'm like, he's like, Dave, we've got to get around golf. So John, look, I really want to make sure that we focus on this. He goes, Dave, if you're coming to Melbourne, we're going to Royal Melbourne Golf.
Yeah,
you've never played here. Golf course touted by Golf of Australia as the number one golf course in Australia. I'm taking you to do that.
And how was it?
That was amazing. Yeah,
yes.
It was awesome. At the very end of it, like, we just walked and we just talked, and it was just great to be humans together. We didn't even talk about business. It was just about being human together. And after that, I was just like, I said, like, this has just been a sheer joy.
Oh,
my bucket. Yeah, it was just I just had this overwhelming feeling of sheer joy instead of an overwhelming feeling of dread. Oh my God, I could have had that 4 hours doing this and we walked it. We did the whole thing in 3 hours. Like, we teed off at like at 4. We were done by 7:30. 7. It was 3 hours. We were done by 7.
18.
Yeah, we played 18. Yeah, just smashed
Solid.
it. We walked the course in 3 hours, and so I got a great workout. It was just magnificent. It was beautiful weather. It's just surprising for Melbourne. No offense to Melburnians. Yeah, and I just felt so good.
I'm so glad. It's creating that space, it's creating that space when you feel like you don't have time or space to create the space. That's where more of it gets to come from. And so then if you look at what we've been able to achieve, and even just the last 12 hours on the back of that, we've got the newsletter article written, published, adding value in that space. You chatted to your clients in Canada at whatever time that was. We're here, with the guys at ABSH this morning. Yeah, we're on this live. We're still able to show up because of the space that was created in order for us to act from. And I'm just reminded of something. I've got a little thing here on my wall, and it's a quote from Eckhart Tolle about acceptance.
Yeah,
and it says, "For now, this is what this situation, this moment requires me to do, and so I do it willingly." And if this moment is calling you to create space and to breathe when everything else is suggesting otherwise, do it willingly. If this moment is requiring you to take another step and to be squeezed and to show up for that client, do it willingly, because this is what this moment, just right here, right now, is calling you to do, so that we don't get that, I feel like my life is a giant brain explosion cluster of emoji, and in my case, just get glitter and rainbows in your eye, and even that hurts. Whether it's glitter or sand in your eye, it still hurts the same. It's just like when I wrote in my article for the Inner Circle this week about being punched in the face. Whether clients do it on purpose or not, it still hurts. Your eyes water. You're there going, oh, this feels fine. But then, anything being punched in the face actually hurts, And even if it doesn't, even if you're not crying from pain, anything nose related, your eyes it starts coming out your eyes anyway. So, yeah. I feel
I know that very well. All right. So to summarize, then, first, number one, stop. Number two, breathe. Right, breathe several times. Take 3 or 4 generous, rich breaths in and out, and center yourself. Um, and because when actually we were talking today, even here, you would have heard, and I saw you give a little yay. One of the clients talked about, I didn't have time to do that, and I said, no, you didn't make time to do that,
Yes.
because we are the creator of time. So when we're sitting going, I don't have time. Well, hang on, you're the creator of time. Uh, Time is a mental construct created by humans, right? So we are choosing not to make time for it. And when you say
Mm.
choosing not to make time, and this is what I really appreciated with the support from you from last week was, I was choosing not to make time for me. But then I could see the downside of me not doing that. So me going even just for an hour to the driving range and having that skate, like I could have spent that hour doing this, or even yesterday, like I could have spent that 4 hours working on all this other stuff. But I wouldn't be able to be me today, doing what I'm doing this morning with the crew this morning, if I hadn't done those things. Because eventually, a bucket with a small hole in it empties just as much as one that's deliberately kicked over. It just takes longer, right? So I needed to make time for that. And so I'm the creator of time, so I can make time for whatever it is. And as counterintuitive as it sounds like when you have everything on the thing, make time, even if it's just to stop, breathe, to reassess, look at everything that's going on, find out what matters most right now, and then put that and push everything else aside and just focus on in that thing in the moment. And then when you've done that, then go breathe, reassess, look at the rest of it, and go, what's next? Do the same thing and just repeat that cycle over and over. And you will get through it while in the background, we've got strategies in place to replace those things, supplant all the stuff that we've had. But in the meantime, this is how we're getting through everything. And it's just about slowing down to go further and to go faster. But you
Mm.
busier is not helping. There's a law of diminishing returns. That the more work that you're doing, the less and if you just keep going crazy, and you're running out of energy, steam, things like that, you become less productive. So as a matter of fact, you might become more busier, but you're becoming less productive. And being productive is about doing the right thing at the right time for the right length of time. And then
Mm.
move that across, then grab the next right thing and do that at the right time for the right length of time, and then the next right thing. But in order to do that, you have to take that time out, right? Send yourself into a timeout. You've been a naughty boy, Dave. You need a timeout. Go sit in the corner and do nothing.
I must admit, I did get off our call. It was this time last week,
Yep.
going, "Oh, geez, was I a little bit too like in Dave's face?" But sometimes, and that's where we talk about being a coach, not a boss. But then sometimes we go a little bit too far the other way, going, "Oh, well, I don't want to boss someone. I don't want to tell them what to do. I don't want to hurt their feelings." It's like, well, no, this I see you there. This is where we're at. Come on, let's do the thing. Just like when you coached in the session earlier, it's like, I didn't have time. No, you didn't make time. Being a coach is also about seeing people where they're at and holding them to be accountable,
Yeah.
And further to what you were saying before, and we'll jump off in a sec because we're going
Yeah.
to get back in our session with our clients. But
Yeah.
when we breathe, when we smile, and when what you say, don't get so caught in the do that you miss out on the view. If you can
Yeah.
actually just lift your eyes up and have a look around, and if there's 1 to 3 things that you get to be grateful for today, how many, and the risk of sounding like a little bit toxically positive, the challenges that we have in our life today, so many other people would kill for these to be our challenges, because you know what, even as simple as I have a glass bottle of clean water that I can drink whenever I want, and I'm stressed about having too much to do, so many people would just want this.
Yeah.
So that's also a nice reality check. But that's not taking away from the fact that, yes, sometimes we feel the way we feel where we're at. Like, it's totally warranted. Everyone's challenges are real and they feel real for right where they're at. But often, if we can breathe, smile, let love in, have a bit of a look around at the view. Oh, I wish I could show you this view. It helps us kind of get out of that quagmire of brain explosion, glitter sand emoji in your eye, and
Yeah.
go, oh, yeah, you know what? These are actually pretty good problems to have. I think Mark Manson talks about, and again, I wrote in my article around, I don't like to allude to the fact that life gets to be a fight, but we're kind of in the ring proverbially. And he talks in his book, it was either The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Truck
Beach.
or something else. I said truck, as in I promised I wouldn't say it. he says, sometimes life is and I am going to say it here, sometimes life is a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
We just need to choose which shit sandwich is not as bad tasting. It's life, you know? So, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you so much for challenging me and questioning me and being willing to hold me to the standard to which that I should be held to. And like I said, that it's having people like Lisa in your team that can do that. And we have having a culture where she feels safe to challenge me and hold me to account, because we all answer to something first, not to someone. For me to be able to provide the highest level of service, I need to be challenged as well. So I really valued that. I know at the moment I felt confronted with it, and you could tell that I was feeling like as I was. But afterwards, I'm like, no, you're right. I just need to process, and then that's when I went to the range and did the things. So I did listen. I just may not have liked it. And sometimes you don't like what you hear, but I had to hear it because it was true. And that was the truth I needed to, and the truth I needed, not the truth I wanted. But it was the truth I needed. So, guys, please understand, if anyone's feeling like they're getting punched in the face, things going on, reach out to us, comment on the live stream, let us know. We'll happily talk you through anything, help you with understanding, furthermore, some of the stuff that we've done. But you're not alone if you're getting beaten up right now. Talk to us. All right?
We see you.
Yeah, we see you. We feel you. So one of our things is caring, and which is loyal and compassionate, right? So you are actually loyal to us, to the organization. You're very compassionate, which is why you questioned and challenged me and pushed me like you did. And that's what we need in our team. And this is why, once again, you looked at me as a human being first, not a fellow teammate or whatever. And Dave needs help, and I thank you for that. Right? Now we got to go help our clients, though. So.
Yeah, let's go to the thing.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday, because we're not going to miss it.
Nope. Bye.
Bye.